The death of creativity. There once was a time where creativity was the forerunner for so many ideas and concepts in media, whether it be through albums, movies, or animation. As of late, however, modern artistry expressed in entertaining media has completely dwindled in comparison to media back then. The landscape has become significantly changed, and the media has become a former shell of what it used to be. We've seen the shift in movies, music, TV shows, video games, anime, cartoons, and even YouTube itself. Profit nowadays seems to be the main motivator behind entertaining media today, and this is why creativity seems like a forgotten concept. So today I thought, why not talk about my favorite forms of entertaining media and how they all became soulless. Chapter 1. Movies. As much as I enjoy films and cinematography, I haven't watched too many movies as of late, mainly due to fatigue and awful movies the decade has been provided throughout the 2020s and even the latter half of the decade. Nowadays, there aren't many movies that strike today as a classic in comparison to movies from back then. In order for a movie to look somewhat interesting now, they have to make remakes of those classic films in order to do well, since new ideas are falling flat. The Lion King is the perfect example of this. The Lion King has been notorious for the amount of remakes it has in order to reel in fans from back then and fans from today in order to just make money. The issue is that when using an established name for a production as huge as Lion King, it's not for anything new or exciting. It's clearly to profit from a household name, but when the cash grab is so obvious, the movie's objective is clear from the jump. Nothing really inspiring or creative came from the movie itself, just nostalgia baiting to reel in fans from the past and now to just make a buck off. This is not necessarily a bash on remakes per se, but rather my dislike for lazy content in this part of media. Movies shouldn't rely on past names in order to do well. They should have its own proper iteration of the movie concept that is different and daring. A good example could be Karate Kid. The Karate Kid movie with Daniel was already a great standalone movie with excellent writing that helped Daniel grow and have a nice payoff in the end. Hard to top. So when the movie remake came with Jaden Smith, the reason it did incredibly well also was because the movie found a way to be special and wrote a story around the circumstances of a black kid from America somehow kicking ass in Japan. Really weird circumstances, but it works. But now, remakes of old classics aren't impressive and seem to miss the mark by a margin. I miss when standalone films were truly creative, whether the plot be simple or complex. My favorite movie of all time is probably Superbad, a coming-of-age film where three guys are trying to get beer for a party with Seth and Evan trying to get with girls they like. That is it. That is literally 95% of the plot, and yet it's seen as arguably the funniest movie of all time. What makes it a great film is the fact that coming-of-age movies will always be relatable whether you look back on it, are going through it, or looking forward to it. How can a dumb, simple plot about three high schoolers getting alcohol for a party be that hilarious? Well, that's kind of the point. Superbad reaches all sorts of demographics and does well since it's so simple, yet absolutely brilliant. You know, the other day I watched Terminator 1 for the first time, and even though this movie came out almost 20 years before I was born, it's crazy that this movie holds up far more than most movies today. And it's not like this movie has incredible CGI or special effects. Honestly, this movie is really dated in that aspect. But what made the movie a great watch was the creativity around the limitations that were placed on it back then. They may not have had technology even close to today's own, but what made the movie special was the imagination that the producers had to use in order to make the film prosper above those limits by truly thinking outside the box. It didn't focus on what it couldn't do, but rather what they could achieve. The great cinematography, iconic lines, and pacing of an incredible story like this movie separates a great film from the mediocrity dying in this form of media today. Looking back, all of these movies used the same formula, succeeded, and became classics. Pulp Fiction, Back to the Future, 8 Mile, you've probably heard of all these household names because the people focus on the artistry first and then worried about profit. not the other way around. Even when you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe pre-Endgame, it wasn't this popular franchise at one point. It all kicked off with the first Iron Man film, and this was a huge risk looking back. There wasn't much funding, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't this A-list actor that he is today, but there was an idea, an opportunity to create a superhero franchise the world has never seen before, all because they chose to take a big chance by bringing ideas and concepts from a comic book to the big screen. With this huge risk followed with creative planning, we were blessed with the most successful superhero franchise ever. That's how you make a film be remembered. You can have all the funding in the world and all the A-list celebrities and actors in there, but without creativity, it's as good as lost, and that's what modern film is missing. Innovation in the land of cinematography. An issue that can also be found in television shows. But before the video continues, a quick word from our sponsor today, Aura. It is absolutely insane the amount of spam calls and text messages I receive on a daily basis. While most of the time I can spot and ignore them, it bothers me that I might decline a phone call that could be important.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
That's when our good friend Aura comes into play. Aura is a digital security company that provides internet protection over things such as your identity and finances. If you're receiving spam calls like myself, your data has probably been leaked and compromised somewhere on the internet. Luckily for you, my friend, Aura has the ability to remove your personal information from data brokers and people's search sites that can give your information to identity thieves and scammers. With Aura on your side, your data will be monitored all over the internet, including the dark web, and you'll be alerted immediately if there's even the slightest chance of identity fraud being committed. Aura has a ton of great features as well, including VPNs, password managers, and antivirus software programs that'll make your internet surfing a lot safer and give you a peace of mind at night. Hurry up and sign up for Aura today with the link in the description or by going to aura.com/KingTheodore for a 2-week free trial. It's a great deal, so don't miss out today. Chapter 2. Television shows. Now, television hasn't been the same since the boom of streaming services like Hulu, HBO Max, Netflix, and Disney Plus, and the reason being is because the market is simply oversaturated with way too much content and very little quality in return. When everything was on cable TV or even on demand, God, I sound so old when I say that. Everything seemed to be better since there was a standard of quality to meet. Since it was a way more competitive landscape back then, since cable was the only outlet most people used, it was as if TV had no choice but to be great. I mean, we were getting shows including Breaking Bad, The Walking Dead, Parks and Recs, Scrubs, and a lot more. A lot more classics stemmed from this era of television. To this day, I've yet to see a TV show that is better than The Office. Even shows geared for kids and teenagers like Zoe 101, iCarly, Zack and Cody were all bangers and put a lot of effort into their craft. What do we have nowadays? Gun to the back of your head, name 5 TV shows in this day and age that appeal to kids and teenagers. You can't, you're dying. They all watch YouTube. And it's not like these TV shows that I mentioned have these deep and complex plots in their shows that make it interesting. The Office is literally about regular adults working a regular 9 to 5. That's it. That's the plot. On paper, it's probably the most boring plot ever. If anything, it should have failed, yet it's regarded as the funniest sitcom of all time. How can a boring plot with small budgeting do so well? Well, relatability. It's probably due to the show being able to relate and resonate with so many people. I mean, think about it. Most people work regular jobs with people that they're cool with and that 1 or 2 coworkers that they absolutely despise. However, what I think completed the show was the fourth wall breaks they had by interviewing the workers outside of work. This formula cracked the code because the insight given in these shows gave an extra layer of relatability on how people would respond in certain situations and circumstances at work that they just can't say out loud. Simple, but effective. On the opposite side of simplicity though, we have shows that do way too much. Don't get me wrong, complex and deep plots are good, but shows nowadays just cannot seem to stick the landing. For example, Euphoria. This show is insane. This show is by far the perfect example of doing way too much. This show is essentially about a teenage girl that faces harsh drug addiction with a lot of heavy topics like abuse and manipulation. Now, I don't know about you, but being in high school, I was not a drug addicting fiending individual. I was in the corner playing video games and watching regular show. Most people do not relate to the majority of things from that show. One is a complete dope fiend, another person is cheating with her friend's boyfriend / ex-boyfriend? I don't know. This person is just toxic and insane, and another person got a say, bro, what kind of high school is this? Maybe I live under a rock, but high school was not like this at all. Most people were awkward around their crushes, getting into fights, or trying to find their footing. Not any of this. Also, there are way too many wieners on this show, like an over-concerning amount. Why? There's obviously no way this show is geared towards high schoolers. So who is it for? Adults? Adults watching teenagers engage in activities like this is questionable. But I'm going somewhere with this. I think Euphoria can get deep and explore serious taboo topics, but it's hard to watch the show when the majority of the show's interest comes from provocativity rather than the storyline. Wait, hold on. Is provocativity even a word? Hold on. The point is, a lot of viewership and interest begins to die down over time when the explicit nature of the show doesn't hit the same, and when the extremely taboo aspect of the show dies, the plot doesn't follow suit, and the show isn't really relatable, it falls off as a whole. Hence why so many TV shows are failing in comparison, but it's not as if I have to relate to a character in order to enjoy a show either. Cause me and Walter White have nothing in common, yet Breaking Bad is one of the craziest series I've ever watched. A chemistry teacher that ends up getting lung cancer and choosing to cook meth in order to provide for his family is a plot I bet no one relates to. But what people can see in a character is the situation, desperation, and itch to fulfill a need by any means possible that makes a character relatable. Not the actions, but the circumstances, if that makes sense. Only a handful of shows nowadays kind of understand that method, and the best example of this is Snowfall. While I'm currently watching Snowfall, please don't spoil it in the comment section, thank you, mwah mwah mwah, you can see that Franklin is in a bit of a similar situation to where he's trying to get rich through dirty means by selling crack and contributing it into the black community, even though he's black himself. He's playing a devilish hand and making the crack epidemic worse in the community. What makes it so good is like what I said earlier, it's not the actions about the show, it's the motivation around those actions that people want to explore and makes the character interesting themselves. Outside of Snowfall, I haven't really seen anything that's groundbreaking, and honestly, that's why I feel like TV shows have fallen off. But who knows, maybe I'm missing out on good TV shows that are coming out now, so let me know in the comment section if I'm missing out on anything. But speaking of falling off, there's no better time than now to talk about this next portion of media, which is Chapter 3, Music. Now I know that music is an extremely subjective metric of media and not many objective measures surround it. Some people like metal, some people like country, some people like nails on chalkboard. It is what it is. Someone's favorite rapper, by the way. So I won't give my opinion on what I think is good music and what's not good music, at least too much, but I do want to bring up something rather interesting between artists of today versus back then. For one, the speed in which artists come and go nowadays is absolutely insane. Hip-hop is a good category to begin this topic with, especially since the genre is oversaturated with a lot of mediocrity and trend hopping. A rapper would blow up off of a song that sounds hard for a quick TikTok edit, and then their career would disappear within the span of a nanosecond. Forget 15 minutes of fame, you get 5 minutes at best. As long as there's a 10 to 15 second snippet and it goes viral, this is considered making it mainstream nowadays. That's all it takes. You don't have to put much effort into a song as a whole as long as it creates that little spark. But as soon as the moment is over, so is the artist. We've seen this happen so often in the music space, and flipping through so many artists, eventually there won't be any more to latch onto. Even talented artists fall under this trap as well. Unfortunately, Steve Lacy is also a victim of this phenomenon. Even though he makes great music, people played one snippet of Bad Habits on TikTok and did not know the rest of the lyrics at a concert to sing along with him, and it was really sad. It's devastating that even a musical genius like him is being neglected just because of TikTok brain rot and short attention spans, and more on that later. But in general, the rapper either creates a short spark or unfortunately passes on without getting the opportunity to truly explore their gifts once they truly make it. I mean, think about it for a second. The craziest rap beef between our best artists were between two people that have been rapping for decades at this point. I mean, way before social media was even a thing. Outside of them, who do we have that makes rap a booming genre? Most rappers that have a decent sized fan base either been rapping for a long time or unfortunately lost their life way too soon. In terms of anything new, we don't have much, especially in this new decade. Also, a big component of music that is beginning to die out are albums, at least conceptual albums. Music at one time used to have themes and explored who a person was. When artists focused on an overall idea or concept that expressed themselves or pursued topics and subject matter that added perspectives and views that that connected the listener and the artist together. Warning, I'm about to glaze, so buckle up. As some of you know, one of my favorite rappers of all time is Kendrick Lamar. This man is an absolute genius. Whenever he released a project, it's almost as if I was listening to a movie, a short film, or even a poem. Every song he'd put and condensed down to a project was to paint a picture for you and I to see, and he'd execute flawlessly. And so many artists that we consider legends today would do the same. Kanye is a great example. Kanye, albeit his music has hit massive lows, made a 3-album trilogy in the beginning of his career about going from being a college dropout and hustling from job to job to celebrating his commercial successes to finally cementing himself as one of the greatest artists in musical history. All because he made a self-focused project about his struggles to riches and fame. Conceptual albums like these are so fun and inspiring to listen to because it has a point to them. I honestly think thematics make music so much fun to listen to rather than just listening mindlessly. I can name so many more examples, but I think y'all get the point. Albums honestly are like books for listening. Learning the life of the artist who inspires us on a day-to-day basis. Capturing a time period on how life was at one point for them. It helps build a lot of memories. Now, conceptual albums don't matter since all mainstream wants is music that's mindless and helps create music for a soundbite rather than the whole thing. People can barely listen to songs that are 3 minutes long now. Songs are so short because people can't focus on a song that long without having to do something else, which in itself is crazy. When people make albums now, it's more like playlists if anything. Directionless sets of songs to satisfy the masses rather than taking risk and trying something different and new. Drake is a huge culprit of this. Now, I'm not gonna go on this whole hate Drake thing, because Kendrick already did that for me, but his music at one point used to be so unique with great albums that made him an absolute giant, but now it's the same dumbed down nonsense, and this was a big reason why he lost the biggest battle in his career. Like seriously, I'm never letting go of Tootsie Slide. But that's a different video. Speaking of videos, quick side tangent, I love music videos. Music videos are another tool artists use to bring their music to life. It doesn't even need to have a huge budget or even make sense to convey a message. It just needs to hold a vibe that connects to the listener. For example, I love Rex Orange County. He's probably my favorite indie artist ever. I even saw him in concert. He has some of the lowest budgeting for music videos, but always finds a way to keep people connected and feel the bigger picture. Not having to be crazy or extremely explicit to get people to watch, but just genuine fun. I don't really like how music videos nowadays have changed into a contest on who can release the best softcore corn on this website. I don't really need to see booty bounce to enjoy your music. It's either good or not. What makes music fun is the ability of self-expression, and so many artists just don't do that nowadays in comparison to back then. Most of the time now, it's the same song about getting over an ex, cheating, trying to be hard, drugs. It's all just so tiring, honestly. People try to be as explicit and provocative as possible in order to get the most shock value, and the gimmick gets old so fast. Ice Spice is the perfect example of this. Ice Spice blew up off of one song in 2022, and fast forward to today, she's dropping stuff like this.
Think you the shit, bitch? You not even the fuck.
Oh, brother. It's kind of clear why people began listening to Ice Spice as a whole, but since her aesthetic changed, it forced people to really listen to her music, and it's clear why she got popular in the first place. One more critique I have about music today is how everything just sounds the same. Everyone uses the same electronic beats, and it gets really annoying if I'll be honest. Like, listen to this for example. Did you hear how angelic that sounded? Music used to be so unique and different. You don't see artists trying to bite flows or copy others because music used to be about spreading your own art rather than copying what works. I can't play his music because this video will be struck down by YouTube so fast, but Michael Jackson on Rock With You is something I can only describe as truly generational. This man was floating on that third verse, and to this day, I've yet to hear a better artist. I don't want to sound like an old head or anything because I'm not. I like lit music and some stuff that comes out today. I just think there's a time and place for everything, and when the same thing is shoved down your throat constantly, it's not really fun. Music used to be a really fun medium that was unique and enjoyable overall, but now everything seems inauthentic, which leads into the next segment. Chapter 4, Video Games. I love video games, always have and probably will forever. Growing up, playing video games that related to your interests was a great time. Plenty of great games that made us create memories with friends and have fun with the people we love. And even though graphics have improved and consoles have evolved, video game quality has completely sank. Sounds backwards, But hear me out. A certain demographic of video games I used to enjoy were sports games. Back then, the game was simple. A game that was $30 to $40 that gave you the ability to play with your favorite player and sports teams against friends or competition online. A fun concept that didn't need to change at all, but then this thing called money came into the equation and ruined everything. I could rant for an hour on how much I've grown to hate so many modern sports games and how they steal so much financially, but we'd be here all day and I don't want that. Plus, you got things to do. However, EA games have changed from having skill and technique in order to be good to favoring people that pay more. Not only is it harder to get good players for your team, skill-wise, you can be way better than your opponent, but because they have access to players behind a paywall, they're always going to win. It's literally pay to win. Speaking of pay to win, I have to mention DLCs. Whoever came up with the idea of a DLC is the definition of a thief in plain sight. Not only are video games ridiculously, horrendously, unnecessarily expensive nowadays off first buy, but the amount of DLCs a company will put behind a game to earn more profit is actually disgusting. Listen, I love Dragon Ball. The franchise has some of the best anime video games of all time, but my god, have they become greedy. The amount of DLCs they put into a game in order to make more profit is crazy. Let me use Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as an example. An RPG that focuses on the events of the Dragon Ball Z portion. Not the original series, not the GT series, not Super, just Z. Hence the name. And the common person is probably thinking, since they added everything from that portion of the show and added some what if scenarios around it, that should be enough and nothing else will be needed. Let me show you where the thievery comes in. Since the franchise is so big, they can add portions of the story in the game as DLCs so that they can make more money. Are you seeing the problem here? No? Let me do some quick math for you. The base price for the original game is $60. First and second DLC combined for a total of $4.99. Third DLC, $19.99. Fourth DLC, $19.99. Fifth DLC, $13.99. Sixth DLC, $13.99. Dude, that's so much! And with the release of the Dragon Ball Daima DLC, that's looking to be another $19.99. Combine all that and you're looking to have paid $152.93 for one video game. Bruh, is that not crazy? Tell me I'm tripping because this is robbery in plain sight. Don't get me wrong, in terms of gameplay, this game is incredible, and it's a fun recap of events that took place in Dragon Ball Z, but it gets to a point. DLCs encourage companies to purposely release bad or unfinished games so that they can make DLCs to make more money off of one game, putting profit over creativity just to earn more, and it sucks. Before DLCs took over, we got crisped and polished games that were worth every penny if the creators went over and beyond. There's a reason why games like Minecraft, the Budokai Tenkaichi series, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, FIFA 14, GTA San Andreas are all considered classics. The games focused on quality and expectation of making big profit rather than selling mediocrity and people latching on to DLCs to improve the game to make more money. These companies have such advanced technology now in comparison to even a decade ago, yet they can't even make a completed game. The quality drop for the sake of profit is astounding. It's crazy because in terms of creativity and quality, the Game Boy games and DS games put so much more effort and dedication into games way more than today. Although significantly limited in game space, developers made sure that the gamers ate good. You got mainline stories, customizations, side quests, and if you finish the game, you'd get post-game material as a bonus. Should the game do well, do you know what the developers would do? They'd make another game. Just imagine if Game Boy games like Pokemon had DLCs for more Pokemon to be added. We would have called that stealing. You want to catch that Pikachu over there? Just pay $29.99 for the new DLC. What? How they got away with DLCs is criminal. I've heard arguments of people saying gaming sucks because people are growing up, but honestly, I disagree a little. Video games, when they aren't greedy and well thought out, are still really fun to play. It's just because quality has sunk. If you play games of old and compare them to today, graphics won't be as good and they look outdated, but quality and effort will go leaps and bounds in comparison to games of today. I just miss when passion was genuinely poured into gaming instead of cash grabbing and ripping off gamers, which leads into the final chapter of the video. Chapter 5, YouTube. This bonus portion of the video, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna be biased and say it. I miss the old YouTube. Call it oversaturation on the website, call it nostalgia, I don't care. YouTube today is a former shell of what it used to be, and frankly, it feels so empty. For one, I missed when videos used to focus on art rather than retention. YouTube at one point used to heavily focus on community and fun with supporters that enjoyed your craft. It rewarded you for your ability to have a pull on audiences and awarded creativity. Now, YouTube rewards output and the ability to keep people on YouTube rather than your ideas that take time and effort to make. Due to this algorithm change, the quality of YouTube itself has plummeted. Thanks to AI, people can just pump out hours and hours of content with just a few clicks of buttons without any sort of difficulty, and if the content is just engaging enough to boost viewership, YouTube will reward and promote that than genuine good videos that are longer than 5 minutes.
We can go gut for gut.
We can go gut for gut.
Fuck that, we can go wrist for wrist.
We can go gut for gut.
Fuck that, we can go wrist for wrist.
Like, look at this nonsense. With the development of YouTube Shorts, all this has done is further kill the platform. And no, that's not a dig or a shot at YouTube Shorts creators, because there are great content creators on that part of YouTube. It's just that these AI videos make people doom scroll, frying attention spans and making it difficult to watch regular long form content in the name of profit. YouTube used to be about a person and their gifts being shared through content, the ability to express oneself on a huge platform without having to go through the mainstream media. Didn't matter the niche, YouTube got so big to the point that mainstream media was getting beat and had no choice but to join the insane growth of YouTube. There were so many genres that filled the explore page, but now it's mainly focused on trend and retention. Hence why you see a lot of videos titled "The blank situation is crazy," because YouTube throws all the videos in the same algorithm since it keeps people on the platform and makes them the most money. Don't get me wrong, I love listening to hot topics that surround the community, but when it's the only thing that's being pushed, it gets too much. I want more of what made YouTube YouTube. Creative ideas in all sorts of niches that were inspiring and fun to watch, rather than these soulless, cash-grabbing, doom-scrolling brain rot that we consume now. That kind of concludes my rant, and also by no means am I some sort of intelligent being that knows way more than anyone else. I'm not trying to come off as some guy that understands the bigger picture while everyone else doesn't. That's not really my goal. I'm just genuinely passionate about entertaining media, and seeing the way it's being run down in the name of profit just kind of sucks. There's no way I can get up tomorrow and write a blockbuster film, let alone be a decent actor. I sure as hell can't code to save my life to make a video game, and if I made a music album,
it's something about the girl.
All I'm saying is I just want unique ideas to be encouraged and expressed again, to be daring and to create things we've never seen before, regardless of the media outlet. I don't have a lot of suggestions outside of just focusing on the art instead of money, especially since I believe if your craft is good enough, money should just naturally follow anyway. I don't have a lot of tips. But if there's one piece of advice I could give, or rather a call to action to anyone that's still watching, is to create. Follow that passion or dream or idea that sticks to the back of your mind. Do it for the love of the game and not the gain. Bars. Make that album, make that YouTube channel, make that short film, but don't let money be the motivator or corrupt you, because if you look around today, creativity is dead and greed has killed it.